Democrats' lead idea to try to change the president's plan at this point seems to be a measure that's going to be offered by Senator Jim Webb that would require that troops spend as much time at home as they do deployed in the field. It sounds like a good idea. What's wrong with that? And would you recommend that the president veto it?
Well, I think it's a well-intentioned idea. I think it's really pretty much a backdoor effort to get the president to accelerate the drawdown so that it's an automatic kind of thing rather than based on the conditions in Iraq with all the consequences that I talked about earlier. I think that if as I believe the president would never approve such a bill, it would mean that we would, if it were enacted, we would have force management problems that would be extremely difficult and in fact create I think affect combat effectiveness and perhaps pose greater risk to our troops. We would have to be looking at gapping units where there would, a unit pulling out would not be immediately replaced by another, so you'd have an area of combat operations where no U.S. forces would be present for a period, and the troops coming in would then face a much more difficult situation. We'd have to look at potentially making greater use of the Guard and Reserve. We'd have to cobble together units from individuals and other units. We'd have to track the service in Iraq of each individual soldier. So it becomes a very difficult, if not impossible, force management issue if we were to be constrained in that way.
Direct question. As Secretary of Defense, given all of that, would you recommend, if it does pass the Congress, that the president veto it?
Yes, I would.
Let's talk about what Democrats are going to do, because the leading ideas I talked about with Secretary Gates in the Senate at this point is the Webb plan, which would require troops to be home as long as they are deployed overseas. You just heard Secretary Gates say it would be a disaster in terms of manpower. You'd end up splitting up units. You'd end up involving the National Guard and the reserves even more. And I can tell you, because I was at a lunch with the president, he says Congress has no role in telling the Army how to deploy its troops. In fact, one of your colleagues, Senator McCain, has just said this morning that it would be unconstitutional. Your reaction?
First of all, the president doesn't know a lot about the Constitution if based on his conduct. He has a very unitary view of the Constitution, number one. No, number two, we do have a right to make such a judgment. Number three, let's talk about consequences. What are the consequences of continuing to do what we're doing with essentially the way in which we're deploying these troops? As the military has said, we're breaking the United States military, flat breaking it. And what we're doing is we're going to end up in a situation where you don't have people signing up. You're going to end up having to go to a draft. This long-term consequence of keeping these kind of deployments is absolutely disastrous for the United States of America and for the United States military. It's not a good thing the other way either. You choose two very bad alternatives, one very bad and one okay. And if you don't figure out how to get these folks sometime home, you are going to break this military. That's what this is about. And we can do what we need to do in Iraq with significantly fewer troops. That is my contention and the contention of a whole lot of other people outside this administration.